We got several different news stories to cover here tonight. It's time for another episode of the World's Newsround. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with another episode of the World's Newsround, where I cover various news stories from outside the UK. And we start with one from the Middle Eastern Eye, with regarding the Turkish 2024 elections. The ruling AKP party were defeated in mayoral polls in a stunning setback. Erdogan's Justice and Development Party see a historic drop in votes as opposition heavyweights Imamoglu easily wins another term in Istanbul. So I recall last year we were talking about Erdogan's successfully holding on, retaining power as Turkish president, and he came across, and obviously from many what read and heard, is that he was still despite the critics of Erdogan, he was still very popular. Clearly, that's not been the case. Clearly, it looks like that Erdogan's position is starting to be questioned. Now, obviously, there is a long time between now and 2028, which is when the next Turkish presidential elections will come around. But this is obviously a sign that people are starting to see that perhaps now Erdogan, who's been in power for a very long time, and are starting to feel that maybe, just maybe, they want something different now. And clearly that the effects that will happen with the earthquake are still being felt. And this is a very important for the world as well, Turkey, and its position in the world. And why is it so important? Because it's considered the point of the edge of Europe, and it has a good relationship with Russia as well as with Europe. It has a relationship there, so it is considered like the middle ground on the world stage, and it is a very strategic point geography-wise as well, just above on the Middle Eastern area, above the Middle East as well, and it obviously has significant ramifications there. So obviously, whoever is the ruling party in its position, whether it's left, centre, left, far right, far left, whatever the political axis they stand on, obviously holds bear to the surrounding areas as well. So this is why Turkey, while this is only mayoral elections, it is a sign that perhaps people are not all behind Erdogan as it seems. And I wouldn't say that it was that that presidential election last year perhaps was not as it did come across at the times that it seemed like very one-sided, that it was a case of perhaps everybody is behind him. But there were a lot of things that Erdogan has always done, and he's done a lot of things for the Turkish people. He's certainly not. I wouldn't go as far as to say like he's like severely corrupt, like a certain one thing like Venezuela, for example. I would say he has these issues, but there are a great deal of people in Turkey that really do admire Erdogan and for the work he's done. And like I said, he has very good relationships with many world leaders as well. So obviously, if Erdogan was to disappear in 4 years' time in 2028, it'd be interesting to see how the relationship between Turkey and the rest of the world differs from there on. So let's read a bit more into these elections, guys. So Turkey's ruling party faced a major defeat in nationwide multiple elections on Sunday, losing the mayoral races in 5 largest cities, including Istanbul, Ankara, Izmir, and recorded substantial drops in its votes. So there was a lot of votes, and they lost the capital in its mayoral votes. That's quite big. The ruling Justice and Development Party, the APK, received its lowest percentage of votes since its first victory in general elections in 2002, dropping below 36% on the ballot. Meanwhile, the main opposition Republican People's Party, the CHP, polled over 37%, going nearly 2% ahead of its rival. According to the semi-official Anadolu agency data, with more than 91% of the vote counted, the CHP, the country's founding political party, won an election for the first time since 1977. In Istanbul, the incumbent mayor Imran Amaru, if I can't pronounce the names, I apologise, a member of the main opposition party, the CHP, easily won the race, denying his rival, the Turkish president Tayyip Erdogan, backed Murat Kurum to catch a chance to capture the city. With 92% of the votes counted, Amaru was ahead of Kurum by nearly 10 points, so that look pretty much is over there. Amaru's re-election in Istanbul is likely to propel him to the Turkish opposition presidential nomination in 2028. Erdogan famously once said that whoever takes Istanbul could also win the country. So making comments like that seem to may have come back to bite him. In a midnight speech, Erdogan conceded defeat and said his government would obey the Turkish people's will. We have 4 more years to recover the earthquake-hit areas and repair the economy, Erdogan said in Antigua in a televised speech. Turkish democracy once again proves itself that we have some setbacks that we didn't hope for. We will listen to the people's will and self-critique ourselves on our mistakes. Erdogan also said that his government will decisively follow its economic program to drop the inflation rate in the second half of the year and avoid populist steps as the country goes back to normal until the 2028 presidential elections. There is a goodness in everything, Erdogan added, referring to Arabic idealism that has Islamic coronations, which suggests that something appears bad might be a blessing from God. Erdogan also signalled a large military operation against Kurdish militias in the south of the country and possibly in northern Iraq in the coming months in the same speech, charting a route for the country. The pro-Kurdish citizens of Istanbul appear to have switched their votes to İmamoğlu, strategically dumping their own candidate from the pro-Kurdish DEM party, which was barely polled 2% according to the initial results. So the pro-Kurdish already tried to have their own political party to try and make sway, but obviously the Turkish people were having none of it. So obviously that was never going to suffice. Based on the data we have attained, I can say that our citizens' faith in us has been rewarded, İmamoğlu told reporters at the CHP's Istanbul headquarters. I would like to thank all of us, our citizens, from the bottom of my heart for fulfilling the sacred duty. After casting his vote with his family, İmamoğlu emerged to applause of chance of everything will be fine, his 2019 election slogan. Elsewhere, the ruling KTP underperformed, losing all the cities it held in western Turkey near the Aegean Sea and losing by a significant margin to the political Islamic New Welfare Party, the YRP, in Anatolian highlands such as Yozgat and Sanarika in the southeast. Ruling party insiders told Middle East Tonight that the party was struggling to win the conservative dominant cities due to the voters who emigrated to the YRP over soaring inflation and shrinking salaries. When things are personally not going well for you, when things that aren't in your way, and you've had the same political party in power for so long, and you're not seeing the benefits in your life, whether it's your pay packet and inflation, things costing more, it's going to have an effect on you. The pensioners and the ones who have been hurt by inflation switched to the YRP to punish the government over their poor salaries. One AKP insider told MEE, asking to remain anonymous so that they could speak freely. But, on the other hand, the party didn't really run a good campaign to convince the voters. Everyone was mostly back in the back seat. AKP insiders point to a rise of YRP, which took more than 5% of the votes, doubling its support from a year earlier in the May presidential elections. The YRP ran a campaign based on Turkey's continuing trade ties with Israel, accusing the government of hypocrisy and asking for substantial increases in minimum wages and pensions. A change in leadership in CHP with the election of Ogar Ozil seems to have re-energized the party as Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu's term ended after losing a series of elections since 2010. Approximately 61 million individuals were eligible to vote in the mayoral elections throughout Turkey's 81 provinces and to choose provisional council members along with various local representatives. In the run-up to the election, the opposition had shown a marked lack of unity, standing in stark contrast to the cohesion seen in the local elections 5 years earlier. This time around, the CHP failed to unify its base around a sole contender. Fascinating stuff, to say the least. Obviously, it's a long way to go because they only had the elections last year, so it's a long way before the presidential elections come around here in Turkey, but it is still an interesting results, to say the least. Like I said, there's a lot of elections these years. Obviously, we have the Indian elections coming up as well. That's going to be interesting one, to say the least. There's obviously Venezuela's elections that come up later on at some point this year as well. That will be significant. You would expect it to be a rigged election of some sorts because of the leader in charge. But however, there's significant repercussions if it's not a democratic election in Venezuela there. Obviously, we have the EU elections as well coming close as well. So there's lots of elections still to come around, guys. But while this isn't a presidential one, it still has significant gains because the people have made their voices clear that they're I would say that they're not happy with the current government and its current leader, and that they want some changes. And obviously, from the speech that Erdogan said, he's clearly paying attention and he is listening to what people are saying. Unlike what's going on here in the United Kingdom, shall we say. But interesting stuff, to say the least, guys. Moving on, still sticking with sort of in the Middle East, we're heading to an article here from Al Jazeera, guys. No life here. Israel withdraws from Gaza's al-Shifa hospital. Witnesses says hundreds of bodies were found inside al-Shifa's medical complex and outside its surrounding streets. So I actually just listened to, and I was just actually just listening to a commentary with regards to this hospital, you guys, earlier today, with regards to the al-Shifa hospital. So I believe it was, I don't believe it was the finance minister, it might have been the foreign minister, the Israeli foreign minister potentially, had spoken and basically said that it was a resounding success in a successful campaign mission in the al-Shifa hospital by the Israeli Defense Force, and that no civilians had been killed. The terrorists were neutralized and citizens inside the hospital were evacuated safely. This is what the minister had stated, and there basically were no losses of life. That's what they've stated. However, there have been contradictory comments on that. There was also video footage from the IDF footage in there. There has been no journalists allowed in the hospital or anywhere around the hospital. So there's no actual guarantees that that's been the case. It is entirely possible that they could be just saying this just to kind of paint a picture of the IDF are doing a wonderful job and they're doing well, which is stark contrast considering we just heard as well. There's been a story at that an aid truck was hit by the IDF, despite the fact that the IDF were fully aware of it. There was that story that's been coming around at the time of this recording as well. So to say that things have been nice and rosy with the IDF is anything but that, guys. Anything but that. But let's read what Al Jazeera's report has to say on this. So Israel has withdrawn its forces from Gaza's al-Shifa hospital following a 2-week operation, leaving behind scenes of devastation. The Israeli military confirmed the sudden pullback on Monday, saying it had completed operational activities in the area of the hospital and claimed to have killed and captured numerous Hamas fighters. Witnesses are reporting waves of death and destruction at the medical complex, where a large number of displaced Palestinians were sheltered. A lot of people now, literally, the IDF are basically saying anyone they actually kill is basically a terrorist. They're claiming, oh no, they were working for Hamas, when they can't really claim that they're not because they're dead. But this seems to be their justification argument whenever somebody basically comes out and says, whenever the IDF, when someone basically accuses the IDF of killing civilians, and there has been footages and eyewitnesses of it, they basically turn around saying that, oh no, they were terrorists, they were Hamas, they were working for Hamas. It's not really the ideal picture for them. The Israeli military confirmed the sudden pullback on Monday, saying it had completed operational activity in the area of the hospital and claimed to have killed and captured numerous... Sorry, I read that already, my apologies. Troops had completed precise operational activity in the area of the Shifa hospital and exited the area, the Israeli military said. The army launched a raid on Gaza's largest hospital in the northern Gaza city on March the 18th. It said it was targeting Hamas fighters who were using the complex as a base. Israel forces have made similar claims throughout the war that broke out in October, as they have besieged several hospitals in Gaza. Hamas has denied operating from al-Shifa or other health facilities. Al-Shifa, which endured a previous siege in November, now appears to be largely in ruins. People are trying to salvage what they can, reports Al Jazeera's Ismail Al-Ghul from al-Shifa, noting that the hospital was serving as a shelter for displaced people as well as housing numerous staff and patients. There is no life here, the complex is in ruins and cannot be revived, he reports. Building all departments have been burned and the structure of the complex has been damaged from the inside, Al-Ghul continued. From what we can see, it appears that the occupation forces deliberately targeted the health sector and destroyed the largest medical complex in Gaza City. So there's a picture there, obviously, showing the outside the hospital. Israeli military have described the raid as one of the most successful operations in its war in Gaza and has now run for nearly 6 months. claims to have killed many Hamas fighters, including senior operatives. A spokesperson said around 900 suspects of being militias have been arrested, and weapons, valuable intelligence, and over $3 million in different currencies have been seized. The army has also insisted that the raid on the hospital has been conducted while preventing harm to civilians, patients, and medical terms. Like I said, there's been contradictory terms yet to what they are saying. Medical sources told Al Jazeera that hundreds of bodies were found inside the complex and in the surrounding area. Video footage circulating online showed heavy damage and charred buildings. Mounds of dirt had been churned up by bulldozers and patients on stretchers in the darkened corridors. On Sunday, the head of the World Trade Organization, Telos Ghebreyesus, said 21 patients had died since Israel began its siege. That's patients within the hospital, apparently. During the previous Israeli raid in November, the Israeli military had alleged that Hamas maintained an elaborate command and control center inside and beneath al-Shifa. Showing video of a handful of tunnels and rooms, Hamas had dismissed Israel's claim, calling them lies and cheap propaganda. And I remember when they captured it and the video footage that they were showing, one of the things that was never answered that I was looking at with all of them was, where are the markings of Hamas? Where are the flags of Hamas? Where is any indication that Hamas are here? And there was very little lack of evidence. Yes, there were weapons and ammunition that they showed in the video footage, but there was no insignias or anything to say that this was a hideout. So it was very suspicious from Israel's point of view when they were showing the video footage when they had occupied the hospital at the time. The war began on October 7th following Hamas's offensive into Israel, killing about 1,100 people that saw the armed group take nearly 250 people captive. Israel responded with an air, land, and sea offensive that killed more than 32,000 people. Palestinians displaced most of the territory's population and driven a third of its resistance into the brink of famine. And that's the other thing as well. There's still so many who are suffering in famine and struggling right now as well. And it's really important to remember the situation that people are in. They are really suffering right now, and we should be wary of that as well. And my absolute heart goes out to those who are suffering, because it is very, very difficult out there for them. There have been talks, obviously, that I've seen reports, obviously, as well, that Benjamin Netanyahu is getting really under strain. There was a video, I think I have a short video, where there was a protest on the weekend, and this protest continuing on Benjamin Netanyahu's reign now. Many Israeli citizens are now fed up, and they want him gone now. There is the viewpoint that the IDF are not having much to do at the moment now, since not having much to do, and that Netanyahu is dragging out the war just to remain in power, but is what it may look like. Which is why there hasn't been called for a ceasefire yet. But it looks like the more time passes on, the more people want a ceasefire. Whether they will or not will remain to be seen. It's entirely possible at the time of this recording that there may be one, but we will have to wait and see, guys. But the sooner there is a ceasefire, the sooner the bloodshed stops, the sooner aid gets to those who need it, the better. I think we can all agree with that. So guys, just before I go to the next article, if you haven't already, please hit the like button, be greatly appreciated, and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. By doing so, you will make Ollie a very happy octopus there. Ollie is not very happy at the moment because he needs more of you guys to hit the like button and share across social media. So do it for Ollie, it would be greatly appreciated, guys. So this next one, guys, is from CNA, that's Central Asian News. This is continuing on from one of the stories that I've covered before, and that's regarding the Philippines and defences in the South China Sea. So the headline is: Philippines are to boost diplomacy and defence capabilities as the South China Sea's countermeasures. So as you guys may or may not know, I've covered various short videos, and I've done a video of whether it's here on Rumble or probably on Snowflake Corner, on the Snowflake Corner episode, with regards to what's been happening. There's been lots of oohing and ahhing between the Philippines and China have basically been pushing and muscling around, trying to claim more of the sea than they own. Sea that they're not under international law don't actually own, but the Philippines own instead. They're obviously trying to claim they own more of it, which they don't. And the Philippines are obviously looking to take some measures in place here to help them against China, because there have been lots of incidences between boats between China and the Philippines, It has resulted in the Philippines using China has been using water cannons to attack Philippine vessels as well. So that's also as if the tension has not grown enough. There have been discussions between the Philippines and China in terms of diplomacy, and not really much has come through it. It looks as if China is just continuing to bully the Philippines to basically whatever they want. So whether this will make a difference or not, we'll have to wait and see. But let's read what they have to say here. So, countermeasures by the Philippines to China's conduct in the South China Sea will entail strengthening its defense capabilities with allies and exhausting all diplomatic measures to resolve disputes, a security official said on Monday. President Fernando Marcos Jr. last week said the Philippines would implement unspecified measures against illegal, coercive, aggressive, and dangerous attacks by China's Coast Guard up in the States in a now escalating row in the South China Sea. The proportionate, deliberate, and reasonable response that the president was talking about covered not only aspects of strengthening military defense capabilities with other allies, but also talks about exhausting diplomatic efforts to resolve the issue. The national security spokesperson Joanna Milei said on state TV, describing the package as multi-dimensional. Marcos has ordered his government to strengthen its coordination on maritime security to confront a range of serious challenges to territorial integrity and peace, according to a copy of the direct release on Sunday. China's foreign ministry on Monday said regardless of what policy the Philippines rolled out, none would affect China's maritime rights of sovereign claims. China claims that almost the entire South China Sea is its territory, policed by an armada of Coast Guard vessels, some more than 1,000 kilometers away from its mainland. The Philippines and China have had a run-in at its sea in the past year over disputed maritime features, coincided with Myanmar's ramping up defense engagements and ally of former colonial power of the United States. The latest flare-up occurred on the 24th of March when China used water cannons to disrupt a Philippines resupply mission to the second Thomas Shell for soldiers guarding a warship intentionally grounded on the reef 25 years ago. Defense officials traded barbs late last week as China saying the Philippines was to blame for the breakdown of relations, accusing its neighbours of provocation, misinformation and treachery. The Philippines responded accusing China of being patronising and intimidating smaller countries. And that's exactly what they have been doing, guys. Bullying, patronising, and just trying to shove off their powers. Without a shadow of a doubt, it seems that's what they've been trying to be doing, capable of doing, and it's really, really infuriating to say the least. They're just trying to just protect their waters that by international laws is decreed as their law. Is this that the sea around their land is their land? But China obviously think they can just keep continuing to bully, but. How much pushing the Philippines going to do? And also that, while there is no war with Taiwan, and obviously you think at some point that is going to trigger at some point because they do want that land back. This is something that China are consistently poking. I feel like China is just trying to keep poking and power prodding just because it's got all the weapons and armada in its side. They can continue to do so, but have to be careful. They've still got that strong relationship with the Philippines there, and that's really, really, really, really helpful to them. So, guys, next article I've got for you guys is from CNN. This is a short one, but it's just emphasising just how cuckoo crazy, shall we say, the Argentinian president really, really is. So, Argentina and Colombia moved to mend ties after Milei calls Petro a terrorist murderer in a CNN interview. So. So in a CNN interview, the Argentinian president called Colombia's leader a terrorist murder. That's really going to keep relationships nice and strong with your neighbours in South America, isn't it? Does he not think like maybe he is a terrorist murderer, but let's just be right here. These are. Whether you like it or not, these are your South American partners, and these kind of comments are not exactly going to help your relationships with people around you, is it? Calling them a terrorist murderer. I mean, it's just a bit ridiculous here. And obviously, the government have obviously had to make amends, and obviously, the ambassador was I'm sure the Argentinian ambassador was summoned in Colombia, and it's just like, Yeah, his comments have not helped, and he's had engagements with foreign nations already. I know he had an engagement with David Cameron of the UK, United Kingdom, which seemingly went well as well. I know the Falklands was discussed in that situation, but just this story here is kind of like, dude, like, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? So, Argentina and Colombia have said they have taken concrete steps to improve free relations between the two countries after the far-right leader, Javier Milei, called his left-wing Colombian counterpart a terrorist murderer in a CNN interview. It's just, you really need to, when you are a president of a country, when you have a lot of political sway, you really need to be careful what you're saying. In a joint statement on Sunday, the two nations' foreign ministries said they had held talks under the orders from Milei and the Colombian president, Petro. The respective governments had taken concrete steps to overcome any difficulties and strengthen their relationship, the joint statement said. The measures include the return of both countries' respective ambassadors after Colombia last week expelled all Argentinian diplomats from Belarus following Milei's comments on CNN. Well, what were you expecting? After making such comments, what were you going to expect? What was going to happen when you made such outrageous comments? You can't expect much from someone who is a terrorist murderer, Milei said in an interview of Petro, the former guerrilla who became Colombia's first left-wing president in 2022. Colombia recalled its ambassador to Argentina in January following similar comments, and Milei rhetoric had reported. Milei, a former television pundit with a reputation for bombastic, has clashed with regional leaders since assuming power last year on a promise to implement shock economic reforms. In his wide-ranging CNN interview, which aired last Sunday, Milei also called Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador ignorant. Yeah, he's calling the Mexican president ignorant because that's really going to improve relations with that's definitely improving relationships there. Yeah. López Obrador, a left-wing populist, has previously criticised Milei's policies and compared him to a dictator. On Thursday, in a post on social media, López Obrador hit back, wondering why Argentinians voted for someone who is not right, who despises the people. Meanwhile, Argentina last week accused Venezuela of cutting the electricity supply to its embassy in Caracas after the diplomatic mission hosted a meeting with the country's opposition leader. So you've upset. Let's get started. So you've upset the Mexicans, accusing Venezuela, and you're calling the Colombian leader terrorist. This is not very good. I understand that maybe you have indifferences with them, but saying them outright publicly is probably not the best way to have future negotiations. It's souring relations as well with your partners. Tensions have been simmering between Buenos Aires and Caracas after Venezuela's socialist president Nicolas Maduro criticised Milei's election victory in November last year, claiming the neo-Nazi extreme right had won power in Argentina. Yeah, he's a very hothead, let's put it that way. He's a very hothead guy. These comments with some of your neighbouring countries, whether you agree or disagree with how they are running, whether it's whether it is a democracy or neoliberalism, whatever the political landscape those nations are in, and we can thoroughly agree to disagree on how they should be and how they should be, but making such bold and bang on statements, yes, it's getting you a few headlines, but is it really going to help you in the long term? Trade and cooperation agreements and future deals, obviously, with those nations, is it going to help them? No, not really. So it is pretty bonkers thing to say. And he, in my opinion, I think he's just embarrassed himself with those comments, guys. So, guys, just before we go to the next part, if you haven't already, please consider joining the YouTube membership Patreon. So those who financially support me really do go a long way to helping me and supporting me here on the channel. Being a YouTube member, you can be one for as little as 99p. It's only 99p to join the YouTube membership, and just doing so gives you access to custom emojis, which I'm sure those in the Premier chat will be doing right now. And you can also, whenever you comment on any of my videos as a member, you always get a response from me as well. That's one thing, that those perks you get by being a YouTube member. If you are $2.99 membership, you get early access to my content as well. So they get access much earlier before everybody else as well. So you also get that additional benefit for being a supporter as well. So anyone who is a YouTube member, thank you very, very much, and I greatly appreciate it. And please consider trying it for yourself as well. It would be greatly appreciated. If perhaps you wanted other ways of financially supporting me, you can do so by buying me a coffee as well, which I would get a more of a cut percentage if you were to do that. The link for that is in the description. Or perhaps maybe you would consider joining my Patreon, where I get an even bigger cut of the income that you guys would, if you were to financially support me there as well. I also get additional content there and on Rumble. Both links are in the description if you guys want to check out the contents there. It'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for everyone for your support. Really appreciate it. So we're going to take a little break here on the World's News Round. I'm just coming up to the half-an-hour mark. And this funny video we got for you guys just to break the ice a little bit and have a bit of fun. This video is from the YouTube channel For Iron Arms. I do encourage you to check out their YouTube channel. The link for this funny video is in the description. And the headline for it is everything that's wrong with content creators. Let's hear what they have to say.
Okay, so where are you guys at?
Well, we've done prank videos.
And we've done prank gone wrong videos.
They worked well.
Yeah, but we need more content.
It's all about content.
Yeah, okay.
Let's brainstorm.
All right, well, you guys are the creatives, so fire away.
How about we just annoy people?
You annoy people?
Yeah, like people going about their daily lives in an already difficult world.
Yeah, and we just get in there uninvited and annoy the shit out of them.
So you film that?
Yeah. Oh, where do we get these ideas? Get that down.
How about we give a load of money to a homeless person?
Oh, well, that's a kind gesture.
Yeah,
so.
but we need to make sure we're making more money from the video than we're giving to the homeless person.
Yeah, of course. What do you think this is? A charity?
Well, no.
We should do a podcast.
Okay, well, your podcasts are popular, so what would it be about, yeah?
Does it matter?
All you need is high quality microphones.
And low quality opinions.
Well, I think it's not that simple.
Let's do an apology video.
Yes!
But have you done something wrong? Or?
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, everyone knows the apology video gets way more likes than the original.
Apology.
We put a hot girl in the thumbnail.
Okay, so how does she fit into the video?
Oh no, she's not in the video.
That's great content.
Yeah.
Would she be in the video?
How about we just buy things and open them?
Right, so what next?
No, that's it.
That's you opening. Okay, why instead don't you maybe you could learn like a skill or a talent that would be impressive, and then you could showcase that to the world.
That would take ages.
Yeah. Why don't we just find someone who can do that and then just film a reaction video?
Yeah, that would take way less work.
Right.
We get a partner, we have kids, and we film every bit of their existence for likes.
Okay, but that's morally reprehensible.
Yeah, we just foster them out when they get too old.
Oh, this is ridiculous. Okay, nothing you have said here is creative. All right, everything is just either immoral or basic or just kind of pointless, guys.
I think you're a bit jealous.
Yeah, I think he's a bit jealous.
I'm not jealous.
Yes, you're jealous.
Oh my god, I am jealous.
It's okay, you could be one of us.
Yeah, we're going to do a 4-hour live stream now. Why don't you join us?
I don't have anything to say.
It doesn't matter.
People are going to watch that.
Yeah. It's the internet, baby.
Yep, it's true. It's all true what they say, isn't it, about content creators? All these ideas, and some of them are absolutely, completely pointless, aren't they, guys? Isn't that right, Ollie? Isn't that right, Ollie? Yeah, like I'm talking to Ollie, the octopus here, and I'm not crazy. You guys know I'm not crazy, but all those other content creators doing crazy bonkers stuff, they're crazy, but we're not crazy, are we, Ollie? Nah, we're perfectly insane, aren't we? Yeah, definitely not crazy in any way, shape, or form, guys. Most definitely not. No, definitely not. Shall we move on? Yeah, I think we should move on, guys. So the next story I've got for you guys is from African News. It's very much a cause for concern. It's obviously does tie into climate change, but this is something that we know over the last several years we know has been coming. And there is that hunger shortage that's going to be coming forward more and more as time passes on. So the headline is severe drought and famine in southern Africa leaves some 20 million facing hunger. So because of the droughts that southern Africa is facing, that means less and less crops are able to grow, which means more and more people are now not being able to get food, and because of the shortage and difficulty of getting food, which means that it means that the cost of getting food is going to cost more for these people. For getting, it's going to cost more. It's going to be harder for them, and yeah, that's a big problem. That's a biggie problem, guys. And you can just see, just there, like how dry the land is there, and it's only going to get worse, guys. It's only going to get worse. So delicacy and with intense concentration, Zamwi Enku pour her small share of precious golden cooking oil into the plastic bowl of food aid distribution at a site deep in rural Zimbabwe. Her relief at the handout paid for by the US government and her southern African countries deals with a severe drought was tempered when aid workers gently broke the news that this would be her last visit. Enku and her 7-month-old son she carried with her back were among 2,000 people who received rations of cooking oil, submarine peas and other supplies in the Mayoral district in southwestern Zimbabwe. The food distribution is part of a program funded by the American aid agency USAID, rolled out by the United Nations World Food Programme. Aiming to help some of the 2.7 million people in rural Zimbabwe threatened with hunger because of the drought that has employed large parts of southern Africa since late last year. It has scorched the crops that tens of millions of people growing themselves to rely on to survive, helped by what they should be the rainy season. They can rely on the crops and the weather less and less. The droughts in Zimbabwe, neighbouring Zambia, and Malawi have reached crisis levels. Zambia and Malawi have declared national disasters. Zimbabwe could be on the brink of doing the same. It has reached Botswana and Angola to the west, and Mozambique and Madagascar to the east. A year ago, much of this region was drenched by deadly tropical storms and floods. It is in the midst of a vicious weather cycle, damned by too much rain and then not enough. It's a story of the climate extremists that scientists are saying becoming more frequent and more damaging, especially for the world's most vulnerable people. In Mangawe, the young and the old line up for food, some with donkey carts to carry home whatever they might get, others with wheelbarrows. Those waiting their turn sat on the dusty ground. NQ39 would normally be harvesting crops now, food for her 2 children, and a niece she also looks after. Maybe there will be a little extra to sell. The driest February in Zimbabwe in her lifetime. According to the World Food Programme, the seasonal monitor puts an end to that. We have nothing in the fields, not even a single grain. Everything has dried up, she said. The United Nations Children's Fund says there are overlapping crises of extreme weather in eastern and southern Africa, with both regions lurching between storms and floods and heats and droughts in the last year. In southern Africa, an estimated 9 million people, half of them children, need help in Malawi. More than 6 million in Zambia. 3 million of them in children are impacted by the drought. The UNICEF has said that's nearly half of Malawi's population and 30% of Zambia's. While man-made climate change has spurred more erratic weather globally, there is something else parching southern Africa this year. El Niño, the naturally occurred climate phenomenon which warms parts of the Pacific Ocean every 2 to 7 years, has varied effects on the world's weather. In southern Africa, it means that below average rainfall, sometimes droughts, is being blamed for the current situation. The impact is more severe for people like those in Malawi, where it's noticeably arid and people grow in the cereal grain sorghum and pearl millet crops that are drought resistant and offer a chance at harvest. This year, they failed to withstand the conditions. Francesca Elgerman, the World Food Programme Country's Director for Zimbabwe, said last year's harvest was bad, but this season is even worse. This is not a normal circumstance, she said. The first few months of the year are traditionally the lean months, where households run short as they wait for new harvests. However, there is little hope for replenishment this year. Multiple aid agencies warned last year of the impending disaster. And since then, Zimbabwean President Hakainde Hichilema, apologies for mispronunciation of the name, said that 1 million of the 2.2 million hectares of the country's stable corn crop have been destroyed. Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera has appealed for $200 million in humanitarian assistance. The 2.7 million rural folk struggling in Zimbabwe is not even the full picture. The nationwide crop assessment is underway and authorities are dreading the results, with the number needed to help likely to skyrocket, said the WFP's Edelman. USAID famine early warning systems estimate that 20 million people will require food relief in southern Africa in the first few months of 2024. With this year harvest a write-off, millions in Zimbabwe and southern Mali, Mozambique and Madagascar won't be able to feed themselves well into 2025. Many just won't get the help as aid agencies have only limited resources amid a global hunger crisis and a cut in humanitarian funding by governments. And WFP officials make their last visit to Mungwe, and Cuba is already calculating how long the food might last her. She said she hoped it would be long enough to avert her greatest fear, that her youngest child would slip into malnutrition even before his first birthday. This is a consequence of climate change. And the reason this is a response. This is a reason because of climate change, guys. This is not just natural phenomenons. This has been slowly happening, and making it more and more harder for these people. And the fact that many nations have reduced their aid to helping these nations as well, because they're trying to look after their so-called own people. This has made these countries and nations suffer as a result, when it is already hard enough for them to be able to feed themselves. And like I've said before, and I've talked about migration before, guys, what do you think happens to a country that cannot feed itself and cannot look after itself? What do you think happens to the people of that country? They leave. They will go somewhere else because they will want to feed themselves. They will look for better opportunities. They will look to the likes of Europe and America and will go there. So you will increase migration. When people always want to reduce migration and want to stop people coming to your door, coming into your home. I've said this before and I've said this again. If you're not willing to help the nations that need it, don't complain when they come knocking on your door when their house is burnt down. And these houses are being burnt down and no one's doing anything about it. It's easy for me to turn around and say, well, if we built massive greenhouses in these countries, surely that would help them. But it's not as simple as that. I'd like to think that it was as simple as that. If we could put massive fundings in to build giant greenhouses for these countries so that they're able to feed themselves. But I'm not sure how you would go about something like that. But that's something I would generally wish that could be done, so that they wouldn't need to. But obviously, I know the climate is making it very, very difficult for them to grow the crops they need. It's a very difficult for the people there, and it's only going to get worse, guys. It's only going to get worse. So we're going to be moving on to the conflict in Ukraine, guys. This one is from the Kiev Post. This one was a report from yesterday. As regards to things in Ukraine, still at the time of this recording, there's still the aid package from US has not gone to. Still, the package in America is still on hold. The Ukraine are still struggling without that. There obviously has. We will look at the steep state map, given that we have quite a bit of time on our hands as well. It is infuriating, the situation that it's in, and Ukraine needs to help all it can get. And it's easy for people to sit there in the comment section and say, "Oh, let Ukraine fall." Well, how do you know? You just don't know. This man, clearly, Putin is looking to expand beyond Ukraine. You cannot trust this man. You really cannot, guys. We really need to try and help Ukraine as best we possibly can in this situation. So the headline is "Life Can Prevail the War in Ukraine." This is an update on the 1st of April. Second civilian report killed by Moscow strikes in Lviv. Belgorod is said to evacuate thousands of children as Russia's war spills over its own borders. AFU made a major stand near Avdiivka. So on the days of Catholics and Protestants celebrating Easter Sunday, At least 2 civilians were killed by Russian airstrikes in Lviv. President Volodymyr Zelensky reassured the nations that our spirit does not give up and that life can prevail. Russian cruise missiles had targeted energy infrastructure in major Ukrainian cities such as Kharkov over the weekend and blasted other infrastructure in the western region of Lviv on Sunday, killing 2 civilians. On the governor of that region, Moscow Koski, posted on social media. One man was killed after the civilian building was destroyed, while rescuers discovered the body of another man underneath the debris. There is no night or day when Russia terror does not try to break our lives, Zelensky posted on social media on Sunday. But we defend ourselves, we endure, our spirits will not give up, and we know what it was possible to avert death. Life can prevail. Moscow said that the recent attacks on the energy grid, especially in eastern and central Ukraine, were in response to counterattacks from Ukraine on Russia's border region. The nation's single operator of high voltage lines asked consumers on Sunday to cut down on electricity use while repairs were being made. So there's a report here of Russian cruise missile strikes. It kills 2 in Ukraine here from a blast here in the building. And there is Zelensky obviously on Twitter just telling people to remain strong. Women evacuated in Belarus region, thousands of children were evacuated. A woman was killed by an airstrike in the Russian border village of Dunkia on Sunday in the Belarus region. Thousands of children have been evacuated from the area, Russian officials had said. The village of Dunkia in the Govorong urban district came under Ukrainian fire. To much grief, a civilian was killed, the regional governor posted to social media. About 5,000 children have been evacuated from the region. The governor said on Saturday. At the same time, roughly the same number will be moved to other towns in the future, authorities said. According to the AFP, about 1,300 children were shuttled out of villages over the weekend as Ukrainian strikes continued to rain down on villages just over its border. Many of the children have moved to cities such as St. Petersburg or Bryansk. So Ukrainian forces also smashed 12 Russian tanks in Tolovik, pushing Moscow forces back. So this is a good sign here. So, like I said, I will say that while things are not great, they have made some. They are still doing pretty well on the sea front. I will say, and obviously this is a good story to hear about as well from Ukraine's perspective. So the Institute for Study of War, the ISW, reported on Sunday that Ukrainian forces seem to have pushed back a massive mechanized assault near Avdiivka on Saturday, the first battalion-sized mechanized assault since Russian forces began the campaign to siege Avdiivka in late October 23, the ISW analysis wrote. So Ukrainian sources on Sunday said that Russian forces committed 36 tanks and 12 infantry fighting vehicles, IFVs, to assault on Ukraine's armoured forces, the AFU, units near Tonga on Saturday. Geolocated images published on Sunday show a large number of destroyed and damaged Russian armoured vehicles and tanks alongside the North Road northwest of Tonki, west of Avdiivka. AFU sources claim that the counter-assault destroyed 12 Russian tanks and 8 IVs in what appears to be the first report of any elements of the 90th Tank Division participating in assaults following the Russian siege of Avdiivka, the ISW role. So that's a good position. So obviously in that area, and we'll go to the deep state map, obviously, in that area, of course, ever since they captured the city of Avdiivka, we've seen obviously on the deep state map on the last couple of weeks, obviously, since they've claimed that city, that they have been pushing out very, very slowly, gaining more ground since they took the city. For those who don't know, they gave up the city because they wanted to protect lives, and they didn't have enough equipment and ammunition to hold the city, and they were being surrounded as well. So they didn't want to give up the city, but they had to give up the city for the Ukraine benefit, and it was better for them to do that. Otherwise, they would have lost more lives. The city would have fallen either way, and it made sense for them to pull out when they had the chance to. So there's a screenshot here. I know it's not too big, but you can just see. It looks like here there's a road there, and it looks like a couple of tanks knocked out there. Here from this Twitter handle says, I guess it's roughly like this. Blue ones I think are confirmed UA losses. A further UA BMP should be at the tree line corner, but it's barely visible. If anyone at Geo confirmed that Geo your control mate wants to do something about it, it's unclear from the pictures what's the outcome. So it looks like there is so this picture's possible either engagements or there, but obviously we can't be 100% sure there. But that was an update from the 1st of April, guys, at the moment. So interesting to say the least on some of the reports. We're going to have a look at the Kiev Independent in just a moment. But yeah, some positive and negative things so far when it comes to the conflict. What do you think, Ollie? Yeah, I'm tired of this war too. I want this war to end. I want the bloodshed to stop too. But you know, Putin won't give up. He won't give up on Ukraine. So I'm totally understand. This is one thing me and Ollie agree on. We hate this war. We hate that. We really do. And we hate that Putin is won't let go of it. That is for sure, guys. So obviously, let's go to the Kiev Independent, see some of the latest reports, from them, guys. So this one was from basically taken off CNN as well. So Ukraine reportedly using artificial intelligence to help target drones. Interesting one here, guys. So Ukraine had been equipping some of its attack drones with artificial intelligence, AI-powered targeting capabilities. CNN reported on the 2nd of April today, citing a source with knowledge of Ukraine's drone problems. The AI-powered drones had reportedly been used as part of Ukraine's ongoing campaign to target the Russian energy industry. Over the last several weeks, Ukraine has carried out increasingly regular attacks on Russian oil refineries and other industrial facilities with long-range drones, including earlier on the 2nd of April. In total, the recent attacks have recently disrupted between 12 to 14% of Russia's refining capacity. An anonymous source told CNN that some of these drones have been used in a simple version of AI that helps these drones with precision targeting and prevents jamming. Accuracy under jamming is enabled through the use of artificial intelligence. Each aircraft has a terminal computer with satellite and terrain data, the source said. The flights are determined in advance with our allies and the aircraft, following the flight plan to enable us to strike targets with meters of precision. An analysis told CNN that the usage of this basic form of AI known as a machine version allows a drone to be programmed to map the terrain on its flight path ahead of its use in the field, meaning that the drone does not need contact with the satellite. Interesting. Drones have been a vital tool in Ukraine's defense against Russia, and President Volodymyr Zelensky said in January that surpassing Russia in drone operations was one of his top priorities from 2024. Zelensky signed a decree in February creating a separate branch of Ukraine's armed forces dedicating to drones. In March, Digital Transformation Minister Mikhail Folok announced that 7 Ukrainian Voskol school plans to start drone operation programs. As drones have developed, so too has anti-drone defences and fuel drone arms, as race in both Russia and Ukraine seem to improve both their defensive and defensive capabilities. Russia has reported in March that a UK-based company is focused on developing drones for the Ukrainian military and able to withstand electronic warfare. We did cover a report from that the UK had sold a significant amount of a significant amount of drones to the UK. We know a deal was struck between the UK and Ukraine with regards to drones. I'm pretty sure that there was a deal was struck there. We do know that, but I was not aware about this report from Reuters. But it's an interesting one to say the least. That is for sure, guys. So I'm just going to refresh the page and see if we have any more updates here. So, NGO, a Ukrainian teenager illegally deported by Russia, returns home. A 17-year-old boy previously illegally deported to Russia from the then-occupied Kherson returned to his family in Ukraine. Save Ukraine, a Ukrainian humanitarian NGO that arranged the return, reported today. At least 19,500 children have been confirmed as abducted by Russia since the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and less than 400 of them have returned home according to the Ukrainian government's database. Kherson, the native city of Mishkiska, the rescued teenager was occupied by Russian troops from February to November 2022. He said, for 2 years, he was, it says here, but for 2 years he was forced to live in the enemy country, in a foreign city, to study at a Russian school. Save Ukrainian head Mikhail Kubet said on Telegram. Mayorika, like other Ukrainian children deported to Russia, was subject to so-called patriotic education in the Russian school, which include propaganda lessons about war and military training, according to Kubeda. What scared the boy was the most was that at the age of 18, that the so-called Yamarika Young Army, that Russians would force him to fight against his motherland. Ukrainian children have been forcibly deported to Russia and are subjected to systematic re-education efforts by Russian authorities, according to a report published by The Guardian on the 4th of February. In March 2023, the International Criminal Court, the ICC, issued a rush warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Children's Rights Commissioner Maria Livia for allegedly overseeing the forced deportation of Ukrainian children to Russia. Yeah, this is they are absolutely cruel. They know exactly what they're doing, and it's absolutely horrible. And it makes me sick to my stomach that they stolen these children away from their homeland against their will, and they're in this situation. It really is a horrible situation. And my heart goes out to any parents out there who don't know what's happened to their children and may never see them again. It's a terrible, absolutely terrible situation for them, guys. It really is. So this was reported about not too long ago. Russian attack kills an elderly man in Kherson Oblast. This one's just occurred recently. A report here. So a Russian attack on the village of Tozoriska in Kherson Oblast killed a 79-year-old man in Kherson Oblast. The Kherson Regional Military Administration reported. Tozoriska is located about 30 kilometers, 18 miles northeast of the city of Kherson on the west bank of the Dymo River. Ukrainian forces liberated Kherson in the western bank of Dymo River in November 2022. Russia still occupies the other side of the bank, and its army frequently carries out indiscriminate attacks on civilians across the river. Law enforcement officers discovered the man's body on the 2nd of April, but the time and circumstances of death are being investigated, the Kherson Regional Military Administration had said. A Russian attack on Tavishka in February killed a 68-year-old woman and injured her 43-year-old son there. So that's another report there, guys. Let's see what else here. This is an interesting story here. So Belarus are beginning military drills near the border with the EU, apparently, and Ukraine. So the Belarusian military began military drills today near its borders with Poland and Lithuania to the west and Ukraine to the south, the country's defense ministry has said. Now, Belarus regularly holds military drills, including close to its borders with Ukraine and the EU. The exercises in which the defense ministry said were intended to stimulate defense scenarios in the case of martial law being implemented. Will it be held in the western Kherson Oblast, in the southern Kherson Oblast, north of the Ukrainian border? As the exercises were underway, Belarusian dictator Alexander Lukashenko said that Belarus is preparing for war even though the country does not want to fight. The state-run media outlet Bela had reported. If you want peace, prepare for war, Lukashenko said, adding that Belarus does not need to threaten anyone. Belarus last conducted military exercises in mid-March 2024, holding what it called a comprehensive check on the army's combative readiness. Belarus's Moscow close allies provided extensive support to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, namely allowing Russian troops to launch their unsuccessful offensive towards Kiev from its territory in 2022. Despite this, Belarusian military has not directly participated in Russian war. In response to the aggressive posturing from Belarus, Latvia and Lithuania agreed in January 2024 to build inclusive border defences. Poland also said in November 2023 that it would deploy a tank battalion by the Belarusian border there. So nothing really too much has changed in terms of military exercises. Belarus are still continuing military drills, but there's nothing here to say that they are doing anything. But obviously, if they start lining up forces at the borders, then obviously that's when the alarm bells really need to start ringing, of course. Now this one I want to talk about a little bit as well. So Ukraine hits oil refinery in Russia's Tuscan with long-range drones. So this is something that's been happening quite a few times. Not so much just drones, but there have been sabotage attacks in Russia's oil refineries, at least the ones that they can engage and target at. This will significantly cripple and damage Russia's infrastructure because they rely heavily on oil. So this is something that Ukraine are looking to try and help destabilize Russia. Now, it does say their source, so this may not be 100% confirmed, but I will say take it with a pinch of salt. But I am aware that obviously there was also from the YouTube channel Inside Russia that they have been looking to target oil refineries in Russia as well. So keep your eye out on the stories from them as well. So it just says here in the editor's note, the headlines changed and the article was updated when the Kiev independent source in the security service Ukraine confirmed reports about the attack and provided more details. So that's just the context there of this report. So during an April 2nd attack on the industrial facility in Russia's Tuscan, a Ukrainian long-range drone targeted one of the country's largest oil refineries located in the city of Nemereskask. A source in the security service of Ukraine, the SBU, had told the Kiev Independent. Fossil fuels are the primary drivers of the Russian economy and the main source of their revenue for the Kremlin's war machine. Despite Western sanctions, Russia still provides oil and gas to other countries around the world, primarily India and China. Now, if you happen to damage these oil refineries and they're not able to send them, it means they get less money in their coffers, which means less rubles, obviously, and that will significantly hurt their economy, which is hence why they're targeting them. Over the last week, Ukraine has carried out increasingly regular attacks on Russia's oil refineries and other industrial facilities with long-range drones. In total, the recent attacks have reportedly disrupted between 12 to 14% of Russia's refining capacity. Now, it may not seem like a lot, but it's still a nuisance, and it's causing a nuisance damage to them. The attack on Tajikistan also hit a manufacturing facility for the shallow-type attack drones at the Alga Special Economic Zone in the Yaborivska district. The attack on the Novorossiysk oil refinery was a joint operation carried out by the SBU and the HUR, this source said. The Ukrainian drone hit the refinery primary oil processing facility, which has an annual production capacity of around 8 million tonnes, amounting to 2.6% of Russia's total annual oil processing capacity, the source also said. We continue to work systematically to ensure that Russia has fewer and fewer opportunities to finance the war of aggression against Ukraine. We will continue to cut off oxygen to the gas station country in order to minimise the flow of petrodollars to the Russian military budget, added the source. The Tando oil refinery complex in Zamorizhzhia came under drone attack in the morning, which led to a fire that was extinguished in 20 minutes. Emergency services told Russian state-controlled news agency the RAI Novosti. Zamorizhzhia's mayor, Ramadi, told a Russian state news outlet that Tusk had a drone that attempted to strike the facility but was neutralized by electronic warfare, adding that there were no casualties or damage. The Kiev Independent was unable to verify claims by the Russian authorities. Russian telegram channels such as Baska also reported that the drone attack on the oil refinery cited local residents. Novorossiysk lies in western Russia, around 1,300 kilometers from the country's border with Ukraine. Russia's Republic of Tajikistan had reported never been attacked by drones before. The attack on the industrial facilities in Tajikistan comes a day after the digital transformation minister confessed Ukraine domestically produced attacking drones capable of flying over 1,000 kilometers, so they can fly over 1,000 kilometers there. In an interview with the Washington Post on the 29th of March, Volodymyr Zelensky asserted that targeting Russian energy infrastructure is a legitimate military strategy. The strikes serve as retaliation for Russia's attacks on critical infrastructure and in line with Ukraine's military objectives, Zelensky said. The interview followed media reports that the US had asked Ukraine to stop attacking the Russian oil industry. Advisor to Ukraine's presidential office head, Migoriko Poskis, denied the report, saying that Kiev did not receive such calls from Washington. I do remember those reports, actually. I do remember there was reports one time that, although not confirmed, that the US had said that they wanted the attacks to stop from stopping Russia's territory. I do remember those reports. I don't know how many of you remember those reports. That there was reports back at those times from them. One more. We'll do one. There's one more here, guys. We'll cover, and then we'll look at the deep state map. So South Korea sanctions Russian organizations, individuals have cooperation with Pyongyang. So obviously we know that North Korea and Russia have obviously a strenuous and strong relationship, and we do believe that there may be weapon supplies and munitions being sent from North Korea to Russia to help in its war effort in Ukraine. We know that drones are being created by Iran that are sending to Russia to help them with their conflict as well. We do know that's happening. I don't know about. I know someone has claimed. I've had one or two people claim in comment sections and that's saying that China are supplying weapons to Russia. I have not seen any media sources cite this. So if you have seen any, please let me know. But I haven't seen any reports of that. Now, they could be wrong. They could be actually doing this and we're not hearing about it. But it's entirely possible. But I have obviously seen many sources, obviously, and stories claiming that North Korea are supplying weapon supplies. And to be fair, this should not really surprise us, to be fair. So let's read into this last one here. So South Korea has imposed new sanctions against 2 Russian organizations, 2 individuals and 2 ships over cooperation with North Korea. The South Korean Foreign Ministry reported on the 2nd of April. North Korea had been shaping up as Level's leading weapons supplier, reportedly providing Moscow with extensive military packages, including ballistic missiles and over 3 million artillery shells. There has also been concerns about what Russia may be providing North Korea in return for the shipment of military hardware and ammunition. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has warned that Russia had been assisting North Korea in upgrading its military capacities, potentially including ballistic missiles and nuclear technology. The latest South Korean sanctions target 2 Russian ships involved in transporting military supply to North Korea, according to the ministry's statement. 2 Russian organisations and 2 individuals representing each organisation was all reportedly sanctioned for involvement in financing North Korea's nuclear and missile development by sending North Korea workers to Russia. Military cooperation, including the Russian-North Korean arms trade, is a clear violation of Security Council resolution and an act that would seriously threaten peace and stability not only to the Korean Peninsula but also around the world, it read the statement. The government and international community have continuously urged Russia and North Korea to immediately stop the military cooperation. The US and South Korea announced joint coordinated sanctions on March the 27th against 6 individuals and 2 entities involved in financing North Korea's weapons and mass destruction program. 2 of the individuals' names are North Korean nationals based in Russia. Unnamed sources in Western intelligence told the New York Times in February 2024 that Russia had likely helped North Korea unblock frozen funds and otherwise worked to connect the country with international financial institutes that have long been shut off. The Financial Times and other media outlets have reported that Russia may be defying sanctions to supply North Korea with oil in possible exchange for military equipment. Now, originally the reports that I heard, that's obviously that they were wanting more food and is one of the reports that I heard. But obviously, if that's maybe the case for oil, in order to continue things going for North Korea's military, that's entirely possible as well, because obviously North Korea doesn't have its own its own oil supply, so that's entirely possible as well. So let's have a look before we wrap things up, guys. We're going to have a look at the deep state map here just to look things up. So I've just clicked it back a little bit. So this, a bit too far out. Just make sure you guys can see clearly here. Give me one moment. So this is the deep state map. The link for it is in the description. So you can see here in the center here, this is the date for each dates of what the material. So I'm just going to click it forward as the days pass to see, and you can see if you can have a look for yourself to see if there's been any updated changes there. As I keep clicking, you may have seen slight movements here and there. The last update, so this is the last update. Last update was on the 31st of March at 21:45 p.m. just for reference here, guys. So that was the last update that they've reported here on the deep state map. So they haven't updated it just yet. So I'm gonna pull it back a couple of days because there was some significant movements. So this is on the 26th here. So it doesn't look like there's been too much changes here. No, does not appear to be too much changes here on the north. Not too much made changes here. And we'll move further down here. Obviously, Buckmont here. We know that there's been trying to apply some pressure here. And it appears they've not been able to make any pressure here in the last couple of days here. So nothing really too much has made here. If we just pull down here. So obviously this is where we're talking about Avika here. If we just move a day forward here, you can see slight movements in Belarus there, and a little bit of movement there the next day. And this was the last report, obviously on the 29th here. Obviously Pomorsk as well, there's been some movement. There's been some ground gained here on the road here as well. Now if I just pull it back a bit further and further, you can see that obviously that they have been continuously making ground in the month throughout the month of March here. So they have definitely been making gains and grounds here, Russia. Let's see, just outside Marinka here, have there been much movements here? Does not appear to be much movement here. There may have been some movement down here, looks like, potentially. There may have been some movement. There's been a little bit of movement out of Noska Kalahishka there, but nothing too much there. And has there been any movement down the south here? They've got some potential engagements. They may have been occurring here. Have there been any movements whatsoever here? Not really, no, because the Ukrainian forces are quite embedded in these positions here, so there's not been too much engagement there from the looks of it. So it looks like, apart from that, I think we can say that based on these guys so far, it looks like there have been some gains by Ukraine, by Russia, obviously, but nothing too big really there. But obviously, I'll try to keep you guys posted, try to keep you guys updated with any kind of major developments that take place, obviously, with with regards to the conflicts in Ukraine, because it's still one of significance, obviously, because it's on the border with Europe. It is a European war, and obviously it has significance, obviously, the outcome of it, as I'm sure you are all fully aware of this. And aren't you in agreement with me? And Ollie is, you should be a lot happier, Ollie. No, well, he's a lot happier, actually, believe it or not. Do you want to know why? He's a lot happier because the lava lamp has finally formed, which is nice. It's finally formed. It's taken all this show, but it's finally formed. The orb is there in all its glory, guys. And we've come to the end of the world's news round, guys. So, guys, what did you guys think of all the stories that we covered so far? We covered the Turkish elections, situation in Africa with the drought, Mendy with his comments on other South American nations. We're talking about the war in Gaza with the al-Shifa hospital. Let me know what your thoughts on these stories and more in the comment section down below. Share your thoughts, what you guys thought of some of these today. And thank you for those who've watched the premiere live chat. I really appreciate it. If you have, you greatly appreciate it. But before you guys leave the video, if you can, before you do, hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And if you can, please subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me in the work I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.